What's up, everybody? I'm in a car. Oh my god. So for those that don't know, my wife Pauline, she is doing medicine up in Aberdeen. So we come up here obviously to do that sometimes. So it means we're not in the home office. We've kind of got a second base up here. We've kind of got like one room that we can work in. So she's literally in the middle of her 4th year medical exams, which are super stressful, but that's why I'm in here chatting shit to the camera to not distract her. Anyways, I want to give a bit of a personal update from me as well. So Pauline's got her exams coming up, and then it's like June 24th, 5th right now. And then Pauline and I will be going to do some one-to-one coaching in New York. And then we're also going to be, from there, going over to Oklahoma City for the U.S. National Masters Championships. And from there, we're going to go down to Texas, see one of our friends. We've also got an athlete in Austin who we might do some coaching with. We'll see if we can work that out for a session or two. But that's kind of more of like a holiday going into Austin. But yeah. And then from there we'll just be back in August. So basically whole of July we're going to be away coaching and just traveling all over the place. But anyways, I thought I'd get to the point of the video. And again, I was kind of in two minds about doing this video because I wasn't at the office and I couldn't film. So I remember when I started that I just need to keep making these, and it obviously doesn't. I know you guys don't really need the like fancy graphics and stuff like that to get the information, at least this audience. No bullshit, straight to the point. I say that I'm being straight to the point and I've waffled on for 2 minutes. But I thought it's maybe quite engaging if you can get a bit of the personal touch. Anyways, what I would like to do this video on is the easiest way that you can go faster. I'm going to try and break down how you can get faster as simply as possible. So how we would go about it when someone comes and joins us and they give us their training time that they can train, and they give us their goals, and within those constraints we figure out what they need to do within those constraints. So the first thing that we pretty much always determine is what's going to be the weekly structure for someone within their training time. So I'll go over quite a lot of things. Again, I'm going to try and really break this down, really make it simple, go into a lot of detail. No, I'm not going to make it simple then go into a lot of detail. I'm going to make it simple and just give you enough details that you get an idea. So there's a few areas, they're all equally important, but again, if you do these, you do it consistently, you will. And the big part is creating something that allows you to be consistent. So that's the biggest thing. I think the first stage of that is your weekly structure. So to break it down, the way we view training is you need to get some amount of low intensity volume in, whether that's 2 or 3 20 to 30 minute sessions per week. That's to the lower end. Again, it depends on the individual, or that could be more towards, I'd say on average, someone training 6 times a week, you're probably looking at around 2 to 4 low intensity volume sessions per week. And most people that we work with, they normally have 4 to 6 times per week, about an hour window that they can train, maybe a bit more sometimes, maybe a bit less. But generally, if you get a weekly structure where you're doing 1 to 2 high intensity sessions per week, and then perhaps, depending on how you're responding, up to 3, especially if you're getting close to a race season, when you're getting close to your peak race. And then around that, you want to get volume in, a minimum of 2 volume sessions a week. And when I say volume, low intensity volume, 30 minutes, 20 at the minimum. You wouldn't want to go any lower than 20, but 30 is a general minimum for most people, and then up to 60. If you can start doing 45, 60 minutes consistently, that's a really solid platform to create some progress on. So that's number one. Then the second thing is, from there, if you can basically Sorry, people are walking past the car, and I'm really trying hard to stay focused here and take on some of my advice of avoiding external factors, but people are staring, but I don't give a shit. Got a video to make. Get your volume in is what I'm trying to say. High intensity 1 to 2 times per week. Around that, you want your volume. If you're far away from a competition, I'd maybe dedicate 1 to 2 of those days where you really work on strength, if that's a weak area for you. When you get close to a competition, strength isn't going to be what gets you fast for your event. What I would do, and what we're doing with a lot of our athletes right now as they get close to a race, is we're looking at what lifts are important for them, what exercises are important for them to keep their strength. And you can do this, you can condense it down into a 20-30-minute lifting session where you maybe do high intensity before or after that. So it's like a 60-minute total window where you're hitting high intensity and weights, or you can do a low intensity, shorter window and weights as well. So that structure, if you get a good idea of that structure, of what you do each day, it's a really good platform. Just be able to get some very consistent training underneath you. From there, the way I'll give guidance on this again, I think if I went into the exact way that we did it, it would make it not simple. You can track long-term planning by looking at your data and looking how you're responding, but the general simplest way I advise people to do this is to push volume long-term, like look at a 4-week cycle and have a light week, which is low volume, so most of your sessions are to the shorter end, a medium week, which is what medium, like just feels average. Heavy week is maybe turning the screw a little bit, and then a heavy week, a very heavy week is you should really be pushing it. And those 4 weeks, they should cycle. That's the simplest way to do this, is cycle. And then just make sure you do a light week before you go into a race, and you'll be sweet. You can get more nuance with this, isn't this big thing of what we do, play around with the order of the weeks. But again, I just wouldn't advise that. A simple approach is often best. If you get tired, I think I had a question on this the other day. If you get tired towards the end of a heavy block and you're not feeling overtrained, you're still feeling motivated, that's a sign you've got the load right. If you're not getting tired towards the end of a heavy week, or a heavy week / heavy block, then you need to do more volume basically. There's a lot of little branches you can go off talking about all this stuff, so I'm trying to keep on the straight and narrow. So that covers the long-term planning. Another section of the long-term planning is figuring out what your weak areas are with your physiology, and doing that more than 4 weeks away from your training. So I'm going to give you all here. The big ones that you can focus on are, well, there's general high intensity, which is that kind of mid high intensity, 8 500s to the short end, 3x2K to the mid end, 3x10 minutes to the longer end. Anaerobic training phases, you can work through those in 2 or 4 week cycles, where some of your high intensity sessions are anaerobic sessions, which means a work to rest ratio of 1 to 6, where you go as hard as you possibly can in that work window, and you rest for a long amount of time, and you really have high quality power, but it produces a lot of lactic acid. It's been a big thing for us in getting people through plateaus, especially as people age as well, because it's something that people often haven't done before. Proper anaerobic training, not 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. That's aerobic. You're not recovering, so you need to use more oxygen and air. Anaerobic training is proper high-end power. Pull as hard as you can, break the foot plate. The other training phases you can go, and again, threshold, I don't like putting out this much content on it because it can get quite dangerous when you start doing that, because it can produce quite a lot of fatigue. That's one of them. Distance per stroke training phases, proper just low intensity training phases where you really cut back on high intensity, or even high intensity phases where you do more high intensity. That can be another way. Distance per stroke, I already covered that. So there's quite a few, but again, I'll try and keep it simple. So that covers the training. That's literally it. Get your zones right is the big thing. Make sure your low intensity training is easy enough that you're going easy enough. I've done videos on this before, so I won't go into it too much, but technique. Okay, if you're on the erg, this applies to the boat. Sequence correctly, hold your posture at the front, don't lunge at the catch, don't dip your chest. If you do that, you're then going to do the opposite on the way back, which isn't what you want. engage your glutes on the way forward, have your weight on the foot plate on the way forward, and then as you drive, you're already loaded. And then hang and do your legs first, and then your back, and then your arms, and really use your back. A good tip I got was, you always hear people say, my arms went, my forearms went, my shoulders went, my heart went. That sounds a bit bad. My lungs went, my legs went. You never hear people say their back went. So use your back when you are racing, and do it in your training as well, so that you have the endurance there. In the boat, take the blade out, square. So, and do everything here, relax. You always want to be loose. That's a given. In the boat, take the blade out square, then turn it feathered, and then keep your hands low so that you have space to square the blade, and then lift your blade on the way forward. Make sure that the spoon is connected before you push. As you place, you want to look for backsplash on the way forward, and then as you place, air will form on the front of the spoon. Wait until that pocket of air is filled up, and then push. You don't want to push when you're not connected, because you'll check the stern. Someone's parking right in front of me. This might be a bit awkward. That's it. And stay loose the whole time. They're making a mess of the parking. So that covers technique. Mindset, which is the biggest one. Do it. Train consistently. Be aware of what you want to hear versus what you need to hear. The big thing I would say is, and the one thing, this is cool as well, because it's kind of the methods that we've developed through our coaching, through our work with Stephen Feeney, who's our mindset consultant. But it's really cool as well because we've had the conversation with other elite athletes, and they all of them have found their own way to realizing this. And the big thing that you need to do, and everybody can do, again, it doesn't matter on genetics, is when you have a reaction to, I heard a good podcast on this recently, actually a business one as well, not about training, but when you have a reaction or a thought come into your head, you can't control that, whether that's an emotion or it's a feeling, or if it's what your crew does, like that emotion that you experience when something first comes in, you cannot control that. And the first step to gaining control over it is not trying to fight it, and is not trying to immediately get control of it and get annoyed and try and fight it away. That's the first step. The second step is then just having a clear understanding of what process focused thing you need to focus on. So a big thing that works for it is a simple technical cue. Sit up, drive the legs, hang, whatever you want. The business podcast I was actually talking to, I was talking a lot about the mindset stuff, which is so cool, that the transferability of all these skills. You kind of have two thoughts whenever anything happens. There's the first thought that initiates is the origin of the thought, which is I saw that sign and I thought about, how is that sign gonna relate to this video? That was my first thought. And then the second thought, I guess this is a shit analogy, would be, what am I gonna do with that thought? So you can never control the first thought. All you ever can control is the second thought. That's a response. It's a reflex, and to train that reflex, you need to find ways that you can do that in training. So that's a big part of our mindset stuff that works. But then, the final thing with mindset training, so you can do if you want to get better at pushing yourself to the limit, do tactical failing. That's a big pillar of ours, where you basically, I'll put it very simply, aim to fail and make that the objective of the session. Then you get better, you get tougher, you get better at finding out where your limit is. And then visualization, which we go into a lot of detail with this. People probably roll their eyes when they hear visualization. You need to create a strong image, be very clear on the path that you're trying to visualize and what your responses are going to be, and get reps and reps and reps of that in. So that is, I'm out of breath here. That is it. We covered a lot there. Training. Oh yeah, weights. We didn't really go into weights that much. Okay, here we go. Do a push with your legs. So squats or leg press or goblet squat or split squat, and then do a hip hinge, so deadlift or hip thrust, straight leg deadlift, and then do a pull, like a row, barbell, dumbbell, seated row, like a pull with your hands, and then do a push. So like bench press, dumbbell press, and then maybe some shoulder press as well. And then do some core work. Oh, no, yeah, you can do some arm work if you want. Ain't no harm in that. And then do some core. You hammer your core, like window wipers, hanging leg raises, farmer walks, rotate, any sort of rotations. They're very good. Those are the main ones. And yeah, okay, right. If you like this video, let me know. I'm obviously not going to get in the car anymore, but I guess it's more the content of it. And I'm just on a mission to keep these things coming. This is why they're so raw, is because before, it's the problematic perfectionism. I was like, it needs to be perfect every time, and then if it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it. And in reality, the fluff of all the editing, it's nice, but it was getting in the way of delivering you guys value. So and that's why I do this stuff. I just really enjoy making these videos and sharing this content, and getting to work with people one-to-one, or getting messages and comments from people saying that my content's been, our content is being super helpful. So yeah, it's a privilege that I get to do what I get to do. I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, these little videos are just a good way to do this in longer form. Obviously, I'm mainly on Instagram, but I'm just trying to get a bit more consistent on YouTube here. So again, you guys keep the feedback coming, and I'll keep them coming. And if you don't keep the feedback coming, I'll still keep the videos coming, because that's the only way you can get better. Anyways, okay, right, bye everybody. Like and subscribe. Adios. Oh, and if you want to apply for coaching, I realize that somebody might be watching this in the video that's in the future. Obviously, everybody's going to be watching in the future. 1st of July, our books are going to shut, which is in like 5 days, for the whole of July of 2024, and then we'll open up again in August. So if you want to apply, if you want to figure out if you're a great fit for our coaching, then hit the button below and apply. If not, no worries, keep checking out our free content. All the best, cheers.